Good afternoon, good morning. This is Delvin from Javelin Technologies, and I'm about to present what's new in SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2017. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon while we present what's new in SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2017. So I'm going to quickly kick off with the agenda. Just want to talk about Javelin Technologies a little bit. We'll jump into the products and what's new in 2017 SOLIDWORKS Electrical. So a recap for some of you who already work with us and some who intend to. Javelin Technologies is SOLIDWORKS reseller. We've been in the market since 1997. We've got hundreds of certifications and we're spread across 6 offices. So what does that mean for you? We've got support across 13. Also, we have solutions for every stage of your product lifecycle and design. So what does that mean for you? We help you with ideas and concepts by supporting your people. We provide you with the technology. So whether it's design, development, test, documentation, or simply just trying to figure out how everything is going to go between collaboration, prototype to production. Technology solutions available are, well, the basic SOLIDWORKS, simulation, electrical. That's what we're here to present. We also most recently added on SOLIDWORKS PCB, which is another powerful tool in our suite, which allows for bidirectional live and integrated designs. With that, we'll jump into SOLIDWORKS Electrical 2017. So SOLIDWORKS has been in the industry for a while, trying to solve or help our customers take their designs and make it a lot more efficient and push into the next level of how technology should be used. So keeping that theory in mind, if you look at a standard electrical design process, we always start off with drawing, documentation, eventually it gets pushed into audit, and the cycle repeats. Now in SOLIDWORKS Electrical, what they've done is we've kept the design process and the drawing process as one segment, and the rest is simply automated. So it automates a good portion of the documentation and auditing and reduces the time consumed while going through this entire cycle. For 2017, keeping that mindset, SOLIDWORKS has taken this up a next level. We have a couple of new features in-house. One of them is the Excel-driven automation. We've got attributes with easy interpretation when you're working with title blocks. You can now propagate signal information over to connected objects. We have something called as the super part, which allows us to add multiple devices together in the form of an assembly within SOLIDWORKS Electrical, and simply design rule check the go-to. And of course, you can't have changes and updates without having interface changes. So I will briefly touch upon this as I go through my project and I show you how things go. For the most part, the application has again broken its barrier and has done well for itself by listening to its customers and giving that next level of design. So I'm going to start off by simply getting into the realm of designing something. So in front of me I have a standalone application of SOLIDWORKS Electrical, and in this application or in this particular segment I'm going to start drawing. So as I launch the third page, I already have a couple of wires in there. I'm going to add some more wires by simply clicking on the tools, and as I draw these wires, every click intends or turns into a bend. I can simply right-click to terminate operation or left-click to continue bending. I'm going to add in some information over here. So to start off, let's look for a motor. Now to look for a motor, I can simply just go to find and type in motor. And because this is an SQL engine, it is really fast as it pulls out symbol objects if they're defined and described properly. So we're looking for this motor. We can just double click and place it. As soon as I place it, intuitively it brings up symbol properties, and it also goes into automatically labeling this for me. Now I'm going to place this on the second location, and we're going to also look for a manufacturing part. As we look for a manufacturing part, this time I'm going to go in and look for a super part, because like I said, in 2017 we have something called as a super part, and this allows us to simply search for parts that may exist within the software. So I'm going to look down and see if it exists within the class. If it doesn't, I'm just going to uncheck that, and let's take a look again to see what we're looking for. Now, if you are unable to find it, you can always remove all the filters, go down to Leroy Sommers, because it is very intuitive enough to use. And if you have any description that you're looking for, you can always go in and look for that. So let's say we look for motor, and right there you'll see something in the red over there. Now this is what we call a super part. So if I double click and I add this, you'll see two parts get added to my symbol. I select it, and it's now added to this. Essentially I'm adding an assembly to a symbol. This is a feature that was introduced in 2017 to make things a lot easier for us as designers to go ahead. What this does is you can also use it for connectors, where you have multiple pins that you're always going to use, or shells, back shells, and so on. Same thing with fuses or relays. If you have additional devices that automatically get tacked on, you can use this particular super part feature, which is now available within the library. I'm going to add in some more devices. So on the left hand side I have my component tree. I already have a couple of components that I've put into purchasing. So let's start off by adding contact K1. I can simply go to insert symbol, and as I do the insert symbol, it prompts me and asks if I'd like to add something from the manufacturing part circuit. I can either add the coil, which is also part of this information, or I can jump into and directly pick up the contact. So I'm going to pick up the contacts, because that's the part of the drawing that I am in at the moment. Place the contacts down, and next I'm going to go over and try and insert the next symbol. So as soon as I insert that, it brings in the manufacturing information of the devices that are being added. I do need to insert terminals over here, so I simply begin by jumping into insert terminals, drawing this out, and as I draw them out, I place the first terminal. By default it's going to go in and do some quality control and add a new terminal strip. I'd like to place this in the existing terminal strip. So there is an existing terminal strip. I have not consumed any pins. I'm just going to place all of that in for us. And as we build on this particular device, we can always enter into an edit mode, which then brings up more details for the terminal. So if I want to look at the terminals and see what conductors are coming in from one side of this device and what device does it connect to, I can also roll over to the other side and see what which motor is it connected to on the right hand side. So this is my from to list. It keeps track of exactly what devices I am connected to. So I'm going to go in and add in a manufacturing part. So I know the part number, so I'm just going to type that in, and the application instantaneously brings it up. We're going to add a separate ground terminal, and this gets added to our project. Now, adding a cable is really simple. You can select your object and dive into your cable manager. Now in the cable manager, you can either go ahead and add a new cable, which then brings up a list of cables within the database. All you have to do is add in a part number, bring that information out. I, however, have reserved a cable within my project. so I have not consumed it, but I pushed it to purchasing. So with that, I select 4 conductors, and I can select the 4 conductors that are on the project, 4 conductors of the cable, 4 conductors of the project, and link them by reference. The cable information populates up over here, and I can now close this. The cable should now be displayed on the project. Moving on, I do need to step down the voltage, so I'm going to insert a power supply. The power supply, it already exists within the list of components I've purchased, so I can go ahead and insert this symbol. So it will bring up the last component that I have used, or last symbol that I have used for this particular power supply. I'm going to place this down. It trims right through the wires. As we progress, the next part of this design requires us to simply do a copy-paste. So if I grab these objects and do a Control-C, which is a simple Windows copy-paste, and Control-V, it brings in the objects. So I place that in there, and almost instantaneously, you'll see that the conductor now has all the devices placed out. They've incremented. The terminal strip is automatically incremented. And my cable is a new cable. While we go through this design process, it also ensures that everything is in order, and adding in the next component is again as simple as looking up what's available within the repository. So I'm going to go here again, and we need to add the last coil available within K1. So I'm simply going to insert the symbol, select it from the manufacturing part circuit available, and place this down. So as soon as I do that, I should have contacts that show up over here, and it has the cross-reference information as to where these some of these contacts have been placed. For the latter part of this, I need to place an indicator. So I'm simply going to look up an indicator symbol, bring it out from my database, and place this down. As soon as I place it, instantaneously it wants to get placed over here. I can add in any manufacturing information if I have any, and this gets added to my design. Now, in SOLIDWORKS Electrical, we have something called as the macro feature, which allows us to drag and drop or insert objects. So what does that mean? If you have objects that need to be reused, you can reuse them across a project, you can reuse them across multiple projects, or in our instance, we're going to bring out something that is already sitting in the database. So in the database, I'm going to double click and bring this segment of the drawing. As soon as I place this, the paste special option then gives me the ability to make changes to this design. The components are getting placed within this design. I simply want to hit finish because I'd like to consume them as they are. There is another segment that needs to be completed. So first off, I'll start off by simply linking the same wire over onto this. And as I make that connection, there's a sensor over here. I need to add terminals by this sensor. So I'm going to begin by insert N terminals. It's a unique way of adding terminals. Draw an access line across, and as soon as I place the first terminal down, it's going to bring up a new terminal strip. For this particular segment, it is fine to have the terminal strip placed out. We'd like a new terminal strip. Click on OK All Terminals, and we have a new terminals. I'm going to insert one more terminal, this time onto the other side. And as I place this terminal, it's going to try to jump up to the next strip. I want to use the existing strip. Instantaneously, it knows it's a third terminal available on terminal strip number 2. I now have my terminals within this particular project. So I do have access lines which I don't need anymore. I can obviously take them out to make my design look a little bit cleaner. My next step in this design process is to add a cable to this. So what I'm going to do is simply select my conductors by simply using Windows keys such as Control, and this time we'll go Associate Cable Cores. Again, I can go ahead and search for something within the database. However, I have a cable sitting in my project, so I'm going to start selecting the conductors of the cable and selecting the conductors of my project or the drawing space and linking them together. So as soon as I'm done, and with this I'm going to go in and place our next available devices by simply going copy paste to the whole thing. I'm going to use multiple copy by just going Control V again and placing this out. As we place these down, you'll notice that it's incrementing and placing everything available on the same strip. Alright, so I placed all my devices down. Placed all my devices down, my terminals have been incremented, and I'm ready to add on the next segment of this design. So on the right hand side, I'm going to now introduce a black box by simply clicking on Insert Black Box. So let's say I click on one of these, and it's going to ask me to draw it out, so you've got to make sure you have your drawing space highlighted. And by default, black boxes don't have any connection points, so you can go in and of course create your own manufacturing part and something that fits the design requirement that instance in time. So I'm going to go in and let's create this particular part. So the part number, let's give it a number. I want this to work. So let's say we switch this over and we'll put this within the drives. To do so, this then adds in a new manufacturing part to your design. So I'm going to add in circuits at this stage. Let's say add in a few over here. Select it, and now we're going to make this all, we'll make half of them hydraulic pneumatic and the other half we will make them as miscellaneous. The number of pins that we'd like to use in each circuit will be 1. Click on OK. This information now shows up over here. We do want to add some of this to our box over here. So let's go ahead and say draw single wires, and we're going to change this to 4, and we're going to make this, the spacing between this, I believe at this point is 0.5. Let's complete this operation. So we've added 4 conductors. You can see the connection points. On the right hand side, I'm going to go in and add this. So as soon as I bring that in, we'll place this over here and finish this operation. So I placed my information, and with this I can simply go in and say symbol update. Update the black box. So all my connection points now show up on my design. Now moving along, we're going to start connecting from one page to the other page. So I do need to make some changes to my conductors over here. So the first change I need to do is ensure that the signal information is accurate. So I know that this is not the wire that's there on the control side of things, so I'm going to replace this conductor, and we're going to go down to that. Same thing with this, we're going to select the next object, and we're going to select the ground cable. As soon as we've done that, we should be able to connect from one page to the other page. We can use the single insertion tool available, connect that conductor, and on the other page, we do need to make one last change. This needs to be the ground wire, so we'll replace this to the wire set which has that same signal. So as soon as I have my wires in place, I can then go ahead and connect from one page to the other. Now, this is fairly intuitive to use, and you can connect from one page to the other, and it won't allow you to go anywhere else, maintaining quality as we go from one stage to the next within this design. So I'm going to close it, and as we go through this particular design, these are active hyperlinks, which then carry over from page to page as we move forward in this particular design. And as we jump into this project, we're almost midway there. We've got our devices placed out. We've got some of the components placed out. And last but not least is we've got to make sure that we're able to translate all this information into production documentation. So as we select any of these objects in the tree, you'll notice that we have something called as the properties manager that now shows up on the right-hand side of your design. Now this is a new 2017 feature, so any object you click on, you're able to now instantaneously see the properties on the right side. This does reduce does increase in efficiency and does reduce the amount of clicks that you would take to get to certain objects. I am now going to take you to the next stage of design by simply connecting on number new wires. And what this does is it's going to number wires across my entire project. And with that, I should have all the information carried over from one end to the other. Sorry, we'll try that one last time. All right, so all my wires should carry the information over. They have made some more modifications, like I mentioned, to the interface. We've got the renumber documents button now added to the ribbon. We also have something called as propagate data objects. Now what this does is you can simply connect over here and you can add propagation. It's going to ask you from what device or from which object do you want to go, so you can then select whether you want to go from the terminal, whether you want to select the terminal information and put it onto either the mark, which happens to be a device tag, or you can also then decide whether it needs to go onto a wire or onto a potential, and you can then define the destination mark that this needs to go into. And as soon as you do that, the application will automatically make changes wherever it deems fit as this goes into your design. So if I double click over here and I go back, I should see all my signals and all my wire numbers carry over onto the next page. This works really well also for PLCs, which brings me to the next stage of my design. I'm going to add in a PLC. I can simply click on PLC, add PLC mark, circuits and parts. Let's add a part over here. So we're looking for a Schneider electric part, and let's add this part to our project. As soon as we add that, we can then go in here and add inputs and outputs. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Let the application know I'm ready to add inputs and outputs. And we're going to select some inputs that we'd like placed over there, and we'd add something called as a macro. Now the macro, like I already showed you, is our ability to reuse segments or entire designs of our within our database. And this can all be then simply put together when I click on generate drawings. It adds this to my project. We're almost at the almost coming to the end of our presentation before I jump onto the 3D side of things and how we made changes. Well, let's take a look and see where these drawings come up. So we do have our PLC segment and it pushes it out over here. These are not blocks. You can go ahead and make changes to any of these segments by deleting, but it does add all the information that you would require for your design. Now I did add my terminals to my project over here, but I never ended up completing or exporting a report from my terminals. I can click on draw terminal strips, and what this does is it grabs the terminals no matter where they are from the project and will create a terminal strip drawing for me. So right here I have my terminals, and it kind of shows me what's going in, what's going out, and what cables, what devices are hooked up. Now this is a live link, so it keeps track of pin to pin of what's going on within my design. Moving along, it brings me to the last and probably one of the biggest important features of 2016 and in 2017 is our Excel automation. So what is Excel automation? Excel automation simply, in 2017 we ended up having our application. We ended up having some more objects that were, we needed more changes done so that our designers could access information quicker. So SOLIDWORKS created these templates through which we are now able to go ahead and select which devices need to be turned on and off. So if I turn on this particular segment and I change the drawing, it turns on and off the segments. You'll notice the ones and zeros changing. I can go ahead and also change the descriptions and such, and the placement information of our particular objects are getting inserted. Now the objects over here, if you look at them on this particular sheet, are macros. So some segments of drawing already exist within our database. All we are doing is making some changes to it. So in here, I'm going to change the 3 kilowatt system to 4 kilowatts. All the part number gets updated. I simply save this, and I can now go ahead and import this. So as soon as I import this from my Excel sheet, you'll see that this project updates, and we now end up getting new sheets that are added to this project. It brings in those sheets which are guided by the Excel information. So that's what we call as Excel automation. So what you're looking at now is the sheets brought in with all the manufacturing information customized through the Excel-driven placement. So like I mentioned, this is one of our most important features for 2017. Jumping into onto the 3D side of things. Routing has definitely improved over the last couple of generations, and in 2017 they've only taken this again one more step further. Everything they've added and made sure that the algorithms are improved and they are out a lot better. And as we go ahead and we start placing, we're going to place in some of the terminals and route through it. So what you're looking at over here is simply the application, which has both aspects of it, the 2D and the 3D. So I have my 3D aspects of it already placed out. I can either define 3D placement of cabinet within SOLIDWORKS on the 3D side, or I can do the cabinet placement on the 2D side of the business. So like in this particular instance, I can simply go in over here and add in one more device. So go in, place it, and as soon as I place it, I can also add in linear dimension information. And as I place the dimension information, this is again very 2D. It's semi-driven through schematic, but on the 3D side of the things, you can then also take a look at the drawings and the changes that are being made. And for our particular design purposes, we are going to now place in terminal strip X1. So I'm going to go in and insert the terminal, and as I place the terminal, I do get the option of then inserting some spacing, whether it's a terminal or multiple devices. I can then decide whether it needs to be inserted left to right or right to left. So I add these components, and I have inserted M1 in front of you, so all I do need to do is go over to where the motor is placed. So either you can insert the object or use an existing assembly. I'm going to associate this, and with that I've now connected my references. So I simply go on and click route cables, grab the object, and the application will then route from one end of the project to the other end. While the routing takes place, you'll see yellow logic lines that now get displayed. We also have segregations that can be maintained, so you can also define which trays or which wire styles and how you would like them to get routed. So in here we have, as you can see, 4 conductors are broken out. It runs all across the building to the control panel, and it splits right through and goes into the first 4 terminals. So it is a really powerful feature. At the end of this gives us a whole lot of routed length and other reporting information that we can use. I'm going to now step away from this for just a minute and quickly talk over whatever we've covered. So you've seen how most of the design process is automated. Everything, all your wire numbers, device tags, sheet renumbering, and it's fast, it's easy to use. It reduces a lot of your rework, especially when you're using the macros. You can use your panels, and you can do PLCs. You can even do harness cable designs. Again, it is you have the option of doing dynamic PLC insertions. You can also go in and manage your PLC IOs. But at the end of the day, you can use this software both in conjunction with 2D and 3D and get the best outputs possible in terms of manufacturing. Last but not least is a simplified library management. What does this mean for you? It is the heart of collaboration. So everything placed within this particular software runs through the SQL engine. You can break it down by single lines, like symbol information, 2D footprints, 3D models, but the application tracks all of this good stuff. I'm going to come back onto 3D side of things. The 2D side of things, and we're going to now run some of the reports. Running the reports is now really fast because, well, there's 2 things to these changes for 2017. One, we can now go ahead and grab objects within these reports. So the reports are not just intelligent, so where you can just go ahead and click on generate drawings and you get all these objects. You can now see how things are being changed or manipulated. So I'm going to go let the reports run. It's adding them to title blocks. You can either export them to text, XML, or Excel. And I'm going to close this. And let's take a look at something called design rule check. Design rule check gives us a list of things that are missing in our project which needs changes. With the 2017 feature, I can now go ahead and jump to what needs changes, and I can automatically start working on any of these objects that might exist within my project. So this allows me easier manipulation and quality as I keep working through my project. Stepping away, any changes that occur within SOLIDWORKS Electrical design, if you want to change a contact or relay, you'll end up seeing that you have to make changes to the cabling section, the control and wiring, BOM, terminal, symbol attributes, wire labels. At the end, you've got over 48 edits. Same thing, if you want reports and documentation, with SOLIDWORKS Electrical, time taken to get all this is reduced. Everything is automated. So you don't have to go back and forth trying to search for information. You have intelligent PDFs also available. TWGs can be exported. And for the most part, this is what our typical design would have looked like right now. We just saved, in 40 minutes of creating a design, we would have had to make about 904 unique changes, 486 symbol changes, 586. So total draw time for documentation, auditing, and everything was under 40 minutes. It is ready to go to production. Now, coming back over here, we also have intelligent PDFs. So with PDFs, you can simply jump from your single line information and take a look at your project also in its existing componentry form. So you can jump from page to page, placement to placement, and this does make your design process really easy and presentable when you ship it off to marketing or any of your techs. They can now access this information on their mobile phones while they're trying to troubleshoot something. You just send them a quick email and they don't really have the documentation. With that, it is a complete solution. It is an end-to-end process, so everything is automated. The PLCs, harnesses, simplified library management, your reporting and such is all put together. The added benefits are 2017 has only made this a lot better for us to work with. Excel-driven automation reduces the amount of time we require. We now push out a design attribute easy interpretation, and it now makes it easier in SOLIDWORKS to make changes in your title block, because you can now see what these attributes are all about. You can now propagate your information from terminals and such. You can also make use of, from PLCs to get all the wire information over. Then you have super part information. You can now have one part number with multiple parts to it, essentially an assembly of parts that can be added in right away without having to go in and add part by part. The design rules help you, the changes to the reports help you jump from page to page with these live links, making it really, really easy. Lots of interface changes, and they're only making it efficient so that you as a designer don't have to jump from page to page. And with that, I do come to the end. As next steps, we do help our customers review their design and manufacturing processes. If there's any areas of improvement that you think or see that are required, we do help provide real, measurable, and actionable plans. Are you designing or drafting tools? Let us know. We're more than happy to help. We can help with implementation and training plans. I'm going to put, if you have any questions, you can always reach us at our website, or the marketing team will send you the email, so can definitely help you get in touch. Once again, if you have any questions, I'm here for the next couple of minutes. Thank you and have a good day.